I'm Scott Feinberg from The Hollywood Reporter. I am very excited to be here because there's no show that I love on TV more than The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It is so exciting to get, and a rare opportunity to get, a big chunk of the people most responsible for that together. So I hope you'll join me. Let's welcome them one by one. To begin with, Shirley Maisel, Carolyn Aaron.
Yeah.
Next, Moish Maisel, Kevin Pollak.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Looking good. Yeah.
Please be seated. It's weird for everyone to stand just for me.
Next, Rose Weissman, Maren Hinkle. Next, Abe Weissman, Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah. All right.
And last but certainly not least, Midge Maisel, Rachel Brosnan.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here. I feel weird up on this high chair, but we'll see how I can use it. So I just want to begin by asking you guys all if you can each just, before we talk specifically about season 3, just over these last 3 or so years, how, from the time the show went on the air till now, how has your life, professionally and personally, been impacted by the show? How has it changed? Maybe we could start with Carolyn and come down this way.
Okay. I hate to be first. It's changed enormously because I've never been in such a big hit, ever. I have to be honest. We're all members of the same profession. I've done a lot of work over a lot of years, and this is the wildest ride I've ever been on. Because people from all over the world love it. People stop you everywhere and tell you how much they love it, and it feels really good to be popular. I just have to say, I'm the popular kid.
Kevin?
Yeah, so the same. I mean, I've done a few movies. I don't know the exact number, 91, but I will say that 6 of them are pretty good. But this is like a lottery ticket of a show, of an experience. It's such rarefied air, yes, to be approached by every generation of people who are fans, every walk of life, every religion, everyone. It's weird. I remember talking with Tony, and he said, "Well, I thought the Jews in the Upper West Side would like it, but outside." So yeah, it's odd. But I will say, for me, starting out as a stand-up comedian and somehow becoming a dramatic actor, which was not the plan, and then to be playing this part that is a very loud, obnoxious Jew who's, I guess, funny. Something I'd never done before. And to hear from so many people, this was a role you were born to play. Yeah, that's been the biggest reaction and surprise.
Maren, I remember very early on you guys did sort of a press event at Cantor's, and I don't think it had sunk in yet for you what you were a part of. When did, so I guess what's your experience been?
Well, we went around yesterday sort of talking after the Golden Globes about this experience, or maybe it was before actually, and we talked about it feeling like going to a wedding with a crazy family every single day to be at work, and that's the truth. It really, the great weddings you go to where people are dancing and singing and laughing and like hiding the crazy aunt a little bit from the rest. It's like that. But I will say, I'm in my 50s and I had done a lot of theater and not as much film, but a lot of TV too. And you don't think that you're going to get to merge all your experiences in one way. And so to take the theatrical backgrounds, and most everybody here has done a lot of theater, or at least this guy's done a lot of stuff with audience there. I love the fact that we get to bring the theater in. And then one more slight thing I'll say, which I don't usually talk about this because it's not that funny, but, and it's better to be funny, but I get to rely on these guys to be funny tonight. So I actually had a really serious injury of sorts where I almost lost my health insurance, and I had to, beg people to give me sort of one line because I needed to try and get that insurance, and that all happened like a couple of years before this show. And so the idea that I kind of thought it was never going to happen again, that I would get to work, and so that even makes it more precious every time I'm here.
Wow.
Tony, you've been.
Well, I guess I'd have to say that my life is exactly the same as it's always been. It hasn't changed at all. Actually, it has changed in one big way. I've known Caroline Aaron for a long, long time. We go way back. We've even had the pleasure of working together once or twice, but we really do go back many, many years, and we've been dear friends. And I guess the biggest way my life has changed is that now that we're doing this, I no longer have to listen to her whining. She's going to get a really good job, and constantly working for no money. Other than that.
Other than that, things are status quo.
Okay, so Rachel, you were on a little show called House of Cards briefly, and then
Whatever happened to that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right.
What?
You bounced just in time. No, but I mean, you were not nobody. You've done Broadway, you've done some stuff, but this is like a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah, no, you want mine?
That's all right.
Let's share. Technology and I are not friends ever.
Hello?
My life has changed immensely being a part of the show in almost every way, and at the same time, not at all. But most tangibly, strangers can pronounce my last name. Never in my whole life has anyone been able to say my last name. People know my dogs by name from Instagram. They're exciting, only a little bit creepy. And I mean, we all say this, but we get to go to work every day and work on one of the most simultaneously challenging and thrilling things that I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. It is so cool. It keeps getting better every single day, and that doesn't happen very often. And we sit here together and thank our lucky stars. I mean, people talk a lot about what it feels like to be a part of a cast that's a family, but it's really true for us. And we just have the best time making this wacky little show.
So, how long a gap was there?
Ouch.
We come from theater, we can project.
How long a gap was there between the end of production of season 2 and the beginning of production of season 3? And then for you guys, is it the kind of thing where you can just slip right back into it, or what's that like to come back to a character after a break? Rachel, maybe you start this time.
How long is it? It's about 5 or 6 months between them. But we've fortunately been very busy because we finish, and then our showrunner Amy Palladino, her husband Dan, our editors are working away in the editing room really, really quickly because we air really fast after we finish shooting. And the last couple of years it felt like a crazy whirlwind because we finished shooting, and then almost immediately we get to start talking about the season that we just shot. And then we've been so lucky the last couple of years that we've been invited to the Golden Globes, so it was like we start talking about the show, and then the show comes out, and then we get to talk about it some more, and we have never stopped talking about it. They can't get us to shut up about it, but we love it, thank goodness.
And you guys, what's your experience been as far as go home or you go do other projects and then you come back to these characters? Is there a secret to re-inhabiting them, Tony?
Well, Well, some of us, we have other projects that we might be able to do in the interim, and do I have like a tag? And then some of us, love to take a little downtime and kind of catch up with ourselves and our families and so forth. What was the question?
How do you get back?
Oh, how to get back to it? Yeah, you gotta kind of ramp
You
up
shave,
to it,
right?
actually. You have to ramp up to it because, it's because of the speed of the dialogue and the energy that Amy and Dan, infuse into it, these characters and into this world. That you have to kind of get yourself up to speed. It's a little bit like, training for a marathon kind of thing. But that's kind of fun. It's a sort of a different kind of discipline. All of us have to, exercise when we attack it.
And Maren, Kevin, Caroline, whoever feels like answering.
I think one of the other things is we are greatly aided by our production values. Is when we start a new season and we've had a few months off, it is really like in The Wizard of Oz when it goes from black and white to color. You put on the clothes, you walk onto that set, you say those words, and really all you have to do is just kind of show up and there you are again. I mean, it's so incredibly authentic in all other aspects that we are invited into this landscape. That's all there for us. That's a tremendous support in creating characters.
You mentioned the production value here is unbelievable, and there are obviously episodes of the show supposedly in Vegas, in Miami. I know you guys have incredible artists working on this. Where were those shot? Were they actually?
Vegas is Queens. That's how good our production
Wow.
designers
That's
are.
right.
Yeah, they just took over a space and made every square inch look like 1960s Las Vegas, and then the Fountain Blue actually turns out was the Fountain Blue.
We actually went to Florida, and we were in Paris for the Paris episodes, and we were in upstate New York, not exactly the Catskills, but next door to the Catskills when we did those episodes.
At a big family resort.
But where did you shoot Oklahoma, Lauren?
Staten Island?
Same thing.
Sorry, Staten Island. It's not exactly Oklahoma, but it looked like it.
But it is crazy. I mean, you walk, sort of Caroline already a little bit said this, but you walk into those sets and you feel like you've time traveled.
You
We were
do.
shooting in this weird manor in Queens,
Right.
Vegas, and you walk outside and you're in Astoria walking down the street in our costumes, and you walk in and there are dancers and headdresses and cocktail waitresses and
Right.
smoke billowing out the doors, and you feel like you've time traveled. It's insane.
Well,
Yeah, the authenticity that Caroline talked to is a heightened authenticity. So when we come back to these parts, you do have to be an exaggerated version in this heightened authenticity. None of us actually talk like our characters do in normal life. So yeah, there's definitely a transition. And then yes, all of our clothing is built.
Yeah.
A lot of the extras, they can find some of those clothing, but all the series regulars, they bring us in early. I'm sure Rachel's fitting is about 3 weeks, but they bring us in and they build these clothing for all of us, from shoes to hats. And
And we use a ton of background actors on the show, and every single actor is dressed to the nines, head to toe. It's incredible. Sometimes I have fittings right next to where all those, I don't know if you guys are ever in all those background fittings are taking
Yes.
place. It's amazing. There's like hundreds of people roaming the halls and all these
Right.
various stages of costumes being built.
Well, you literally had, that's actually not CGI, 850 people for the
Absolutely.
Shy
Right.
opening, I think this first episode, right?
Right.
We broke a very specific record. We had the most number of background actors used in a television series in the state of New York. That's how we feel.
Just a quick aside, because the Fountain Blue came up here. I was there over the holiday break, and I thought I had some family members from South Africa who loved the show. So I said, "You got to come see the Fountain Blue. This is where they shot it." So I take them to see the Staircase to Nowhere.
Yeah.
And as soon as we get there, somebody from the hotel comes over and basically tells us there's now a whole parade of people coming by to see the Maisel stairs.
Wow.
So it's now known as the Maisel stairs. But I guess I want to ask you guys, learning and delivering Sherman Palladino dialogue, it's probably different than anything else you've done in terms of dialogue. Is there a secret? It's so fast that it has to be delivered, and yet I think from what I remember talking to Rachel before and just reading, I don't think improv is necessarily encouraged. So what's
no.
the secret here?
I think you're gonna get as many different answers as you have actors up here.
Okay, yeah, well,
You know, it's okay.
Well, Caroline nearly murders our script supervisor every year because we're word perfect down to the if
Word
and
perfect.
the and occasionally contraction.
And if you notice, no one in 1958 to 1960 ever says,
Yeah.
Right.
no room for that.
I just remember our script supervisor running in one day and saying, hi, sorry, you're saying it is. And I was
That's
like,
right.
What? I'm doing a 10-page long scene. But it's cool. It feels like doing a play. It feels
Yeah,
like
it's the
doing a
most
play.
challenging and rewarding at the same time. I think we all kind of agree to that.
and Tony, what do you have a secret for learning the dialogue?
Well, I think, yeah, in a way, it's sort of like, you think of it as music. You think of it as, learning lyrics to a song, kind of. And you know how we always just, once that's sort of in your head and in your body, it just kind of spins out. But it does take a lot of discipline. And the other thing is, we all have to key into each other really, really closely and tightly. It's really about listening and because you got to jump in on cue, and so there's a lot of support between us, and we're all we do a lot of long takes, without cuts. So if one person screws up, then the take is unusable, of course. So you don't want to be that one.
I want to be the lone voice
Oh,
here.
God, yeah, right.
I want to be the lone voice here and say that everyone asks us about rapid talking, and I talk so fast and I've never noticed, but I've never felt pressured or compelled to speak quickly in her language. No, never.
Have you ever heard Amy from the sidelines going, great, now pick up the pace?
She says that, Rachel?
When you can't,
Oh,
you think you can't
every
possibly
day.
go
Yeah.
faster.
Oh, she does.
You hear Amy going, yeah, faster!
No, I have, but I mean, I think it's gotten to be such a, people talk about it like it's signature, and when I'm doing it, I never feel like that. I feel like it's just, I think the writing is so good, and that certainly in the case of my character who lives at the top of her lungs, it's just a form of passion to talk really fast before somebody else talks.
Yeah, all that being said, I think in real life, we talk a lot faster than we normally do in television and film and plays. And, we overlap and we just kind of go
Right.
rapid fire. The only difference is with Amy's dialogue, it has to be super precise, where as in life, you can jam up or say an or ah, and that does not work with her.
Yeah.
Well, starting with Maren, I hope we can have each of you share if there is a scene that you were a part of this third season that's particularly memorable, either because it was challenging or funny or whatever. I know as a viewer, I could say for each of you the one that immediately comes to mind. Like with Maren, I think it's maybe when you're increasingly drunk watching the performance of. But just like I would be curious for each of you what that was, starting with Maren.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, challenging, memorable for whatever reason.
Rainy.
Here, do you guys want to start? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Well, I love that they, Weissman's moving with the Maisels. That's, the odd couple times two.
Yeah.
But I have to say selfishly, when Midge comes to Moish about the apartment, it was the first time Rachel and I had the scene, just the two of us, which was crazy amazing and fun, and also a little ridiculous in a wonder for her to get into the building in the shot. I had one of those with Mike Zegan, where I give him the check, and towards the end of season 2. So those little softer moments, quite frankly, when I'm not bloviating. Dave Weissman.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not the scenes that kind of are kind of stand out for me. Not because they're more challenging or more difficult or anything, just because they're just a little sort of odd and off. And those are the scenes that I get to do at my job at the school. Although I won't have those anymore now. But
You never
those.
You never know.
You never know.
Never say never. I guess just, I don't know, it's just because they're just so unusual and I've never been in those kinds of situations. And usually those rooms that we're in are they really are from that time, and they're so evocative, and they really do kind of transport you.
We'll give Maren one more minute, Caroline.
Okay. I just love him. I think for me, when the 4 of us are together, both sets of parents, the scenes that we had around the table together, partly because of what Tony was talking about, the biggest compliment that I think I've gotten in terms of the show is when people say, when the 4 of you are together, are you improvising?
Yeah.
And so it makes me know we're doing something absolutely right, because it is letter perfect. But I love that idea of everybody's voices coming together. So I would say from the 3rd season, it's, having breakfast or dinner with the Weissmans, especially after we came back from the theater and we'd seen Bye Bye Birdie. I really enjoyed sharing that with my house guests.
Before I'm very interested to hear Maren and Rachel's answers, but because this has come up a lot with people I've talked to about the show, and as a Jewish person, I'm curious about this. I think it's the funniest Jewish-related show I've ever seen, and so I'm curious, how many of you are actually Jewish?
All the Maisels are Jewish.
But sorry.
And our son, who's not here.
And Alex.
And Alex.
It just means these 3 are better actors.
That's no, but it's you guys.
Half of the series regularly.
No, but I mean, I just think you guys have it down. I don't know who you have spent time with in your life, but I have relatives who I think about every time I watch them.
I'm a California Jew, which also means basically I'm Catholic. Whereas Rachel was raised around a ridiculous amount of more conservative views.
Right.
So she's more Jewish than I am.
Sure.
And you were too.
All right, Maren, you're up.
Oh, yeah, okay, so I was thinking about, there's so many, and as these guys were all answering, I was like, I'd say that one, that one, that one. But the scene, I haven't seen it yet but I remember the feeling of shooting a scene with Rachel, which is the last episode, and she comes horrified that I've talked to her ex-paramour and Benjamin, and I listened to her kind of go off, and then at the end I say, I agree with you that we don't see eye to eye, but there is one place where you and I do see eye to eye, and the idea that we're not going to depend upon a man any longer. And there was something in the day, I don't have a daughter, I have a son, and I've always wanted a daughter too. I wasn't able to have more children, so having Rachel as a daughter, just every time I get the moment to work with her is, I also love working with this one and all the rest, but having a scene like that means I get to play out an imaginary thing that I didn't get to have in my own life, so it becomes a second chapter.
Rachel.
I also loved shooting that scene. We hadn't really gotten to have that really cathartic moment between the 2 characters yet. It's so hard to choose. There are so many
amazing and crazy and insane things that you would never imagine were as insane as they were to do. But some of my favorite stuff this season was working with Luke Kirby, who plays Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. And spoiler alert, but the episode where Midge and Lenny go out together, the final scene of that episode was not only one of my favorite scenes to shoot, just as an actor, you know, actor to actor. It's such a beautifully written scene and such a cathartic moment that kind of leaves everyone wanting more. But also it was an insane scene to shoot. It's kind of a long scene, and we were shooting it at sunset. And we were shooting sunset for sunrise, and sunset happens so quickly. So in order to capture that really long scene, they set up 4 cameras that were hidden all over this motel set. And there was one, our camera operator was operating a Steadicam that started on a crane, like high up in the air, and he got like lowered on a crane and then stepped off the crane and followed us. And there was one straight across the pool, one shooting from above out of the hotel room, and then one hidden. It cut a hole in the wall of the motel room that he was supposed to be staying in, and there was a camera and a cameraman stuffed inside the wall, and then they put the wall back in so you couldn't see it, and there was a little hole about this big for the lens to look through. And our camera operator, because he was walking through all of the shots with us, had to wear all green so that they could paint him out later. So it looked like a neon dentist. Like head to toe green, and there was a little green piece of fabric around the matte box of the camera. And they went in post then and painted out our camera operator who was shooting the Steadicam shot. And we got the whole thing in about 40 minutes, which, as all of you guys know, is psychotic. And it was crazy. It was so cool. The whole set was buzzing, and there were operators who had never gotten a chance to operating on our set because it was 4 cameras. So everyone was getting bumped up in their position. And it was a really special communal experience shooting that scene on one of our last days in Miami.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, we have time for just one last question, and I'd like to start with Rachel. If anyone else would like to share an opinion about this, I'd love to hear it as well. But I mean, this is a show. What's interesting is that I think 60-something years, probably approximately after it's set, people of all ages are still connecting with this, and you know, from young people who know nothing of that era aside from the show to people who lived it. And I guess I just wonder why you think, what's your hypothesis for why it has that effect on people?
I think we're the benefactors of fortuitous and simultaneously non-fortuitous timing. The world is kind of a dark place. We are living through some shit. And it's a show centered on a woman who leads with hope and joy, who's reinventing herself and finding her voice in a new way. It's colorful and bright and beautifully shot, but ultimately is hopeful. And there's a fantasy element to it that I think offers some sort of escape in this particular moment we're living in. Yes.
Yeah.